As a philosophy professor at Mount San Antonio College for the past 33 years, I have taken a decidedly scientific orientation in almost all of my courses. Because of this, students are encouraged to ground their studies in mathematics, physics, chemistry, and biology whenever possible when trying to answer problems that they confront in their intellectual lives. Such a conciliant approach is naturally multidisciplinary in scope, and thus, when the more mature sciences cannot adequately explain a given phenomenon, it is important, indeed necessary, to incorporate psychology, sociology, political science, economics, and even religious studies to have a more comprehensive purview. Yet, and this is still a controversial issue in the humanities, I argue that philosophy done well is science, and when it is done poorly, it remains, well, philosophy. This is not to disrespect or dismiss philosophical thinking, but only to underline the salient fact that when intellectual queries are answered successfully, they invariably branch off and become part and parcel of science itself. Throughout history, philosophy has served as a vital and practical way to ferret out which questions have empirical reference and possible answers which resolve the perceived conundrum, and those that appear nearly impossible to solve. But it is precisely here that one must be doubly cautious, since what may be perceived as intractable in one era or too metaphysical for any proper adjudication can become amenable over time for a more robust and fruitful investigation that can yield surprising answers to questions long believed beyond the ken of scientists. A good example of this, of course, is the great progress that has been made in the life sciences, for which centuries was believed to be the province of God, until Charles Darwin and Alfred Russel Wallace showed how evolution by natural selection could explain the emergence of complexity without a creator. Later, Francis Crick and James Watson, utilizing the pioneering work of Rosalind Franklin and Maurice Wilkins, demonstrated how the secret of life and its variations was encoded in the double helix structure of DNA. But even here, a pure materialist understanding can be upturned when new information arises. The very idea that our consciousness and the cosmos we inhabit may be a computational simulation would have appeared completely absurd just 4 decades ago. But today, with the advent of artificial intelligence and virtual reality technologies, several eminent researchers take seriously the possibility that reality may be a rendered construct that betrays its real origination. This doesn't mean that the simulation hypothesis is true, but only that outrageous ideas may evolve to become more sensible provided the right informational parameters. Undoubtedly, we live at a unique time in human history, where many of the questions our ancestors believed couldn't be answered have been and will continue to be in ways quite unexpectedly. As I tell my philosophy cohorts on the first day of class, I have been fortunate to have been privy to the very beginnings of the internet and the birth of the World Wide Web as they were happening. This was primarily due to being at the University of California, San Diego during the 1980s and early 1990s, and having access to the latest computational developments. My future wife, Dr. Andrea Diem, introduced me to electronic mail, email, Internet Relay Chat, IRC, and programming in Unix in 1985 and 86. Just moments later, when I was teaching my English courses in Warren College at UCSD, I had my students correspond with me via the net. In the early 1990s, after Tim Berners-Lee had developed the web, all my courses required creating personal websites. 6 years before YouTube, I realized that the bandwidth had become large enough to house homemade films and thus encouraged my students to create short movies and place them on the web to be shared. I mention all this since it is obvious to me that the next great educational leap forward is in virtual, augmented, and mixed reality. For the past 7 years, I have been keenly interested in incorporating VR technologies into my philosophy courses here at Mount San Antonio College. I've introduced VR headsets to a number of my students over the years. including Kenneth Williams, a recent graduate who suffered a horrific car accident that left him a quadriplegic. Eventually, I got him a headset, and it was a game changer for him. However, due to COVID restrictions, I was forced to curtail my VR introductions. Thankfully, this past semester, the administration at Mount San Antonio College has accepted my proposal to teach a course in philosophy using the latest VR technology. This is one of the first pilot programs of its kind at the undergraduate level in philosophy. Already, Stanford University has taught classes using VR in communications and business. The course is designed to utilize the best that virtual reality has to offer, providing students with a plethora of creative tools that were not available before. I hope that by using such technologies, we can approach age-old philosophical questions from a variety of different angles and come up with a deeper and richer understanding of what it means to become wise, especially in an era where technology is accelerating at an exponential rate. The following essays focus on consciousness, neuroscience, evolutionary biology, artificial intelligence, computer science, virtual and augmented reality, and more. Each chapter stands on its own and doesn't require prior knowledge about the subject, though having a background in philosophical and scientific thinking is a plus. These essays, with a few exceptions, were originally published in Europe on the Integral World website during the past decade. I have added a postscript to several essays to bring them up to date and add the latest insights culled from the latest research in all things related to AI and VR.